If you have a moment and aren't above a nice rug, pour one out for Oran Park. A classic Australian circuit now resigned to the annals of history, it thankfully lives on in perpetuity here in iRacing. But those warm fuzzy feelings about the track being virtually saved might not still be there for the drivers after this race is over. Narrow, short, and twisty, this is a circuit notoriously tough to drive by yourself, let alone with dozens of other cars and two very different classes on track. We'll see if anyone meets the same fate as the circuit as we get ready to watch round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, we don't often get to see Oran Park here on GSRC, so why don't you tell our viewers a bit about the track?
Joe, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Oran Park opened in 1962 and operated continuously until it surrendered to the bulldozer in 2010. And it's now a Well, it's a village. It's a huge, thriving community. But, you know, thanks to the magic of iRacing's virtual universe, the track survives. iRacing offering 6 configurations of this facility. But today, we're on the Grand Prix layout. What does that mean? Well, during its 47 years in the real world, it hosted the Australian Grand Prix twice in 74 and 77. And there are 12 turns squeezed into the 2.6 kilometers, 1.6 miles distance that features a figure-8 shape with a bridge where the track crosses over itself. Despite the loop, the racing direction was still regarded as being counterclockwise, so much like a NASCAR track, kind of. But to get an idea, you know, really what this place is like, let's hop on board here and take a trip around the historic Oran Park.
All right, we've got Amjad Yammer in the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Oran Park. Coming down the front stretch, be careful if you go too wide because turn 1 is going to be a tricky affair with a challenger forcing you to go side by side. You're braking and turning simultaneously, meaning what would be a good place to pass becomes an extremely difficult single-file corner. As you exit, swing back across the track to set up for 3. This corner works best as a late apex, but it's tough to resist the urge to turn in earlier. It's only a short burst after that before you're slowing up once again for 4. This is another odd corner because 5 comes immediately after, but it's taken essentially as one long curve. Up across the bridge and then glide it through the long sweeper of 6. The challenge doesn't let up here because you're going to have a blind crest at the entry for 7, which then flows straight into 8, making your accuracy to the racing line critical through them. Now you'll brake again for 9, but be careful on the exit because the car gets light over this hill and can easily oversteer. Switch sides and you're going by memory over the very blind 10-11 chicane. No time to relax because now you've hit turn 12, a street course-like uphill bend that'll test your guts and prowess. Get it as close to that outside wall as you dare and ease onto the power to get the best run to the finish line so that now you can say you finished a lap around Oran Park. Sending the GSRC BMW out in place of the Audi because, well, Amjad actually went into that new neighborhood and he double parked it in a spot that he shouldn't have, so it got towed. Hence why we had the Bimmer out there today. So as qualifying works its way around, let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship really quick. Starting off with the GTP standings with Olenek up in the lead. Now, Hall didn't have the greatest of races last time, but still recovered to keep himself within touching distance. Don't forget about Ardo Iamaki, though, sitting there in 3rd. And then, of course, Clayton McLeod and Fabian Gerber round out our top 5. Very tight in the prototypes, different from how we've seen it in previous seasons. As well, there is the GTP Lights, which is sort of the amateur category that they run in this series. Luis Emerton with a hell of a season happening for him. In fact, getting a podium on here. John Keefe about 12 back from him, with Martin Krejcik a little bit farther down, and then there's a big gap back to Kopak and Peterson there for your top 5. What about the Audi classes there, Sean? What are we looking at in those championships?
Well, let's take a look at the GTOs now and see where everybody sits here. And Michael Houghton there on top, 77 points. Just getting up there, passing Ben Laughter to do it. Now Ben's now 7 points behind. Ove Trengrade up a spot there, getting ahead of Villarreola and going up there in the 3rd, 19 points out of it. And look at this, Villarreola, Philip Blake, they're all with Ove. This is the battle we've been keeping an eye on for the past couple of weeks here. These 3 on quite the move right now. Laughter seems to be safe up there in 2nd. So here we go. Now let's look at the other championship here real quick. And there's the GTU standings. Riley Thompson in the lead right now. Brian Shanahan only 8 points behind. It's funny, the difference in the GTU standings, just 1 point there, 7 behind on the other side, 8 behind here. Franco Scurry, 25 points out of it right now. Reed Miller into 4th. Hideki Koivitso, so no movement right now in the GTU standings, but still a good close battle there, 3rd to 5th.
Now, in case anybody hasn't watched the Kamel GT series before, here's what you're in store for today. as we said, in round 7 out of 12. Now, interestingly, you're seeing 2 different drop weeks for each class. The Nissans only have 2 drop weeks, while the Audis have a little bit more wiggle room with 4. Now, it's a sprint race today at 40 minutes, and the setups are open, which means with that short distance, we should not expect anybody in for a scheduled stop. If anybody has to come in, it is because they had a big problem. There's the scoring down there below of what they will award the drivers out there today. Here's John Keefe circling his way around under qualifying. Right now, up at the top of the Nissans is Rob Olenek, and I'm seeing a number of Nissans actually not with a time yet. Let's see if any of them are still out there. Looks like Jamie Hall is trying to get some laps in. Yeah, and then Antti Lepisto has yet to put a time in. So at least 2 of those guys will get out there.
Yeah, Mukanos and Kopak don't appear to have moved at this point. So, boy, they're going to need to get out there really quick here. Now, I will say that the Nissans are tracking under a minute around here, Joe, blazing fast speed around this facility.
Yeah, so I guess they still have time to get out there. There's Jesper Delica getting out on track to run in this series. I'm not sure if we've seen him run in the Kamel GT before, but we are familiar with Jesper. Currently sitting in second, actually, and he's on his second lap right now, coming around that final corner, turn 12. And, and it's a slow lap for him, so that one, unfortunately, not going to count. He had an off somewhere, sadly. Lepisto comes around, and he has not put a time in yet. This is his first time lap right now, coming up to the crossover. This is one of those circuit Sean's, another one I'm surprised that at least I haven't found yet corner names around here. I mean, have you been able to dig them up? I always see them numbered.
No, I haven't. I've found no real history on corner names here, only numbered, and it's a very American thing to do, even with the direction of the track, as I talked about in the intro, with it going counterclockwise. So yeah, I don't know, maybe there was an American in the mix when they designed this track. I don't know.
All right, first lap for Antti is enough for 4th. Not terribly fast for Lepisto, but also not too out of place. We are getting a bit of information that the chicane at the end of the lap has been called the flip-flop. I like that, Sean. That's sandals are very appropriate for Australia.
Almost makes me want to put some Jimmy Buffett on. Well, okay, so the flip-flop. Okay, I think we can go with that. I don't think anybody's going to mind at this point, Joe.
Yeah. Now, Jamie Hall, as we're watching, has currently got himself into 8th. He had a very slow first lap. He's on his second time lap right now, heading through that flip-flop. And then up to the final corner. This one always reminds me of a street course with the way that wall is right there on the outside. You got to toe the line right up to it. Difficult in these Nissans with the turbos, giving you that horrible turbo lag, and he improves, but only up to 5th. Oh, Jamie Hall's going to have some work to do if he wants to get another win this season. And let's see, do we have anybody else out there trying to get a second lap in? Doesn't look like we do. So before we go to the grid, Sean, since we got a bit of time, one thing I want to discuss here is the traffic. We can't ignore that is a major factor. Drivers have been dreading it. They've been saying it's going to be worse than most sport, which if anybody's watched the most sport race in the series, that'll give it an inkling of what we're up for.
Joe, you know what? I'm glad there's only 20 cars here today, because I think any more and we would have really had a big problem. Listen, there really aren't any passing zones. Turn 1, that's about it. Everything else is a risk. You bet the straightaway is not long. Yeah, it's a straightaway, but again, the track is only 1.6 miles long, Joe. There's not a lot of space out there. The track is narrow. Good luck today. I think that Jamie Hall is probably going to rue that starting spot there in 5th. That I think qualification means everything today, and Rob Olenek did a good job putting his on the pole.
Yeah, and speaking of quali, let's go through that grid, starting with Olenek, as you mentioned. Jesper Derlicka coming in as a bit of an outsider, showing that he's got quite a bit of pace there in second. Arto Iamaki will be third, with Antti Lepisto beginning in fourth. Then row three, it's Jamie Hall, as you said, having a little bit of work ahead of him, and Clayton McLeod next to him in sixth. Luis Emerton could see another podium if attrition is high, which could be the case today. We'll see. Starting from seventh, John Keefe, the last driver in the Nissans to get a time in eighth, Mukanos and Michael Kopak will be behind them. Let's go to the Audis.
Man, we got 10 Nissans, 10 Audis, and it starts with Ville Riola with the pole position here in his Audi 90 Quattro. Ove Trengerade second, Riley Thompson third, Michael Houghton will start fourth, Ben Laughter with a fifth place starting spot, Franco Scurti sixth, seventh, Hideki Koivitso, Reed Miller in eighth, Marco Kika ninth, and Tommy Iotto will start 10th.
Now, there's no incident limit in this series, so that's one good thing for the drivers. But disregarding that, there's no spare cars, Sean. So what's the over-under on drivers that actually see the checkered flag out here?
12.
12? Oh, wow. Doom and gloom there, sir.
I'm just being honest.
Okay. All right. We'll see how they handle it. We are going to have the replay button at the ready, and we might have to get Amjad a new one for his birthday after all is said and done.
Joe, in all fairness, I mean, we've got a great strength of field here. It's a 2946, almost 3,000. So this is a pretty experienced group of drivers. So hopefully they can play nice together in the sandbox today.
All right, green flag is out, and a bit of a slow start from Arto Iamaki actually caused Jamie Hall to get checked up behind them. Let's see how they handle turn one. It's flat out in the Nissans, braking very late. Jesper Derlicka going off a few other cars, getting to the dirt, but Jesper narrowly avoiding the tires. Other than that, no incidents. Let's go to the Audis.
Yeah, and here they come through one, now into two. Their braking zone. They really have to back it up for turn one. Everybody makes it out of turn two, though, Joe, and now heading down into three. It's Villarola with a great start. He jumped out well. Riley Thompson picking it up now, starting to catch him here just a bit.
We'll get back to what happened to Jesper a little bit later on as we continue to cover lap one here. Right now, up at the front, Olenek starting to stretch away at almost a second over Iamaki. That'll come in handy once they hit the traffic. Jamie Hall has already got himself into third. With the off that Derlicka had. And how about this? Emerton eyeing that podium again, and as soon as I say that, he has a moment coming out of turn 12.
Boy, Villarola comes out of the final turn here, Joe, across the start-finish line. And man, I'll tell you what, shot out of a cannon. He seems to really be feeling it here early. The Skull Bandit is away.
Now that we've got a little bit of time, why don't we take a look at Jesper's incident? Did he get pushed off, or was he just a little bit too eager on his own? I didn't see any contact out there. Here we go from above, chopper.
Yeah, Joe, I think he outbraked himself right there, I think.
Oh, he was taking evasive action on the leader. The leader broke a little bit early for him. That GTV car, unfortunately, had only one way to go.
Well, he was very, very fortunate to not get into that tire barrier.
Yeah, you can see how close it is here from the onboard. Oh, that is where you're hoping and praying. And just to show how tough it is to pass here, he's still the last Nissan in that class out there. He has not been able to overtake anybody, despite nearly being on the pole.
Yeah, no, there's just no road in front of him, Joe. In fact, in front of him is what we've got is Clayton McLeod and John Keefe. Keefe, who was just struggling getting off the turn. The car was all still having trouble managing getting off the turns here. Car very loose, and then behind him, McLeod had to check up there and look at that. Now McLeod's got directly all over him.
Eyeing him up, seeing if he could find a way through. Oh, and we got an incident ahead of them as Lepisto gets backed up. It is very much a truly train behind Michael Kopak, who is holding up everybody side by side through the flip-flop. John Keefe being attacked by Clayton McLeod around the outside of the final corner. 3 wide through there. If they make it out, I don't know how they're going to do it. There's still 3 wide down the front stretch. Boys, if you take this through turn 1, I don't think anybody's going to come out alive. Oh, and Jesper backs out of it. Oh, but Clayton McLeod does not, and he spins it across the track, somehow gathers it back together, and they still come out of it. And look at that, he's still holding them up. He hasn't lost the position. My goodness.
Okay. Second place. Oh, boy. Big slide for Riley Thompson. Here comes Ove Trendgren coming through. Michael Houghton, Ben Laughter right there. Oh, Riley was able to catch it.
Everybody scrambles, but everyone comes out safe. Both classes having some excitement down into turn 1. This just goes to show you how eager everybody is to try and do anything for pass into that first corner. Oh, wow, Riley. Watch him saw at the wheel. Great catch by him, using that 4-wheel drive to good effect.
And he still hangs on here in third, but boy, Ove really able to take advantage of that, trying to go chase Villarolo, who's already gotten out to 3.5 seconds, Joe.
We can stay on this battle, but just an update. Lepisto managed to get by Kopak and get himself into 5th. So a bit of a change for position there, but really the best battle on track right now is between Thompson, Houghton, Laughter, and Scurry for that 3rd position in the GTOs.
I just did a quick eye check to see how close the Nissans were here to the back of the Audis. It's not going to be long.
Yeah, Tommy Alto is going to be caught by Olenek, and probably at the end of this lap, if we're honest, then things are going to get very interesting. I've been told by the drivers that other than the front stretch, there's honestly no place that they can get by that class. So that's an entire lap you'd have to wait if you get stuck behind.
Well, you're definitely going to want to plan your moves out carefully here, because one mistake, we've already seen what kind of time that can cost you in position. So
drivers have been describing this place as basically a go-kart track, and yet they're taking these monstrous beasts from the 80s around here. So that should tell you just how difficult it is. And there's our leader, Olenek, starting to catch up to Alto. Oh, excuse me, though, that was Jamie Hall behind Iamaki we were watching there. Now we see our leader, who has, in fact, caught the last of our Audis. And I think he's going to try and pull over, let him through. Down into turn 3. You can see, even with the horsepower advantage, just barely gets by him. Oh, and Michael Kopak with it off in turn 2. Just outbraked himself. We're going to see here, doesn't dip the wheels off, just a little too hot into the corner. He realized it, let it run a little wide, and unfortunately loses 2 positions in one go. So that moves Kopak down to 8th for now. Oh, and a bit of 3 wide on the front stretch. Marco Kika and Reed Miller.
Sorry, I was getting to that right there because Olenek was coming through, and it leads those two in a battle. Watch out. Reed Miller gets in there hot. He's locking him up.
Well, looks like Kika's going for the over-under, but can't quite get the power down soon enough. So move Miller up to 17th. 8th in class rather, and now Kika has to deal with 2nd and 3rd in the Nissans coming through.
Yeah, he managed that pretty well. He got off to the left there, kind of let him go.
Audi's being very polite here at the back of the field. Miller does the same with Hall, coming off the bridge, just letting him by. We're riding on board with Hall there for a second as he continues to chase Iamaki. Finn's now got Hideki Koivisto just ahead of him in 7th in the GTOs. Oh, and you can see he's caught a little bit out. Jamie Hall takes a peek on him. Can't do anything with it. Gonna get by on the inside. Gonna be a little marginal here for Jamie Hall. Oh, just sneaking through. The Audi drivers were warning some of the Nissans, Sean, before the race about how they need all of the track through that kink.
Yeah, they really do. And well, so far they've played really well, Joe. We've not seen anything major. I hope we can make it through the next 31 and a half minutes so quietly here. So far, so good. Nicholas Mucanos, just to report on him, never got started in this race, Joe. So he was a no start. 19 cars still rolling here, though.
You can see 2nd and 3rd, Hall and Iamaki going past Scurry there as he has to go way wide, loses a chunk of time on Ben Laughter, who holds his apex, coming out of 12. So we're right on board with the blockbuster car. He's going to get it easy with the top two of the top drivers scything through there on the front stretch.
Yeah, caught him in a good spot there. Seems like right now everybody been pretty fortunate with that. Now it starts to back up here just a bit. Houghton, Thompson, their little battle going on. Here comes Iamaki and Hall.
This could be interesting as they get a little bit higher up in the class. Going to be harder to try and get these guys to move aside for them. Iamaki's going to dive inside, down into 7. Thankfully, Houghton saw him coming, moves to the side. Now he's going to get it paid back there, as it looks like Thompson was held up on the turn before the flip-flop, and the battle resumes.
Okay, so that didn't work out too bad there. I really thought Houghton was going to have a good chance, or Thompson was going to have a chance to get away, but obviously, like you said, it paid back.
They've got Emerton coming through as we ride on board with Hall, and Hall doing the same thing that Emerton did. Wow, they're starting to push it. This is what we worried about, is coming into that 1st and 2nd corner when the classes come together. It's just, you have to hope that everybody is aware of exactly what you're doing. Up at the front, you're not missing anything. Olenek is about 3.5 seconds ahead of Iamaki. And then same thing with the GTO class. Villirola leads by about 5 seconds over Trangarade.
5 seconds. It started good. It's remained good, and even with the traffic coming through, it hasn't slowed them down one bit.
About 12 minutes into the race, so still quite a bit left to go here as we continue to watch this battle between Iamaki and Hall. They just went by the car of Villirola, our leader in the GTO, so they're clear for a little bit. Closest battle on track, really, other than Thompson and Houghton in the GTOs. Of course, we've also, if we could take a little bit peek back, because remember, Jesper Derlicka was on the front row and got sent back, and you can see he's having a fight. Oh, and this has opened it up for Houghton.
He's not able to pull it off, though, Joe. Riley Thompson going to hang on to the spot. Man, that was close.
Right on board with Derlicka as he continues to hound him. Oh, but now Houghton's got it. Thompson gives way. And I think we're getting a replay on it. Yes, we are. We're going to see the pass into an unusual passing zone down into turn 7. How often do you see it there? Just got better grip.
Oh, I know we're watching the replay.
Yeah, Thompson just went off into 12, it looks like, under braking. And that's, I have to imagine that's got to be a tricky one up and over that crest, and you're trying to get the car settled, I would assume, Sean.
Yeah, and tricky is exactly the right word to use. And then he continues to have trouble. And actually, now he's got to worry about Ben Laughter, because Ben Laughter's there I'm sorry, not Laughter. Yeah, no, Laughter and Kopak's behind Laughter right now. Kopak not catching him in a good spot here.
Yeah, I think Kopak is, he was one of our drivers that did not take a qualifying lap. I think Mike is kind of taking the just survival mode approach here, and you can see how patient that Momo car is being. Because when he didn't put a qualifying lap in, I don't think I even saw him get out there on track. So I suspect he thought, you know, I'm going to stick it on the back of the pack at the start. I'm just going to cruise around, let the race come to me, and then maybe push at the end. He's ahead of John Keefe, although Keefe is catching him quickly with all the time that Kopak is losing behind Laughter. Not much else happening throughout the field as everybody's starting to get a little bit of space. Go ahead, Sean.
Joe, I just noticed something. We must have missed something happening with Barola. Ove Trengrade now only 2.1 seconds behind him. 3 seconds lost by our leader here.
Let me see if it was traffic or what exactly happened. I think, you know, I think it was just... No, he did have a bit of an off. Going into turn 1, it was about 2 laps ago, so we might not be able to get a replay, but Dante Lepisto stuck it inside, and I think Rolla just was put off. He locked him up into turn 2, gathered it back together. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, Trent Rolla is back up to speed, seems to have gotten back into his rhythm here real quickly, but Trengrade here with a little bit of life. Joe, as we both know, Ove been a very, very busy man this morning. Already got 1 second place under his belt today. Unless he snuck off and ran another race in between, who knows? There could be more good fortune ahead for him here today.
Yeah, but I don't think he wants another second place. I think he wants a win here. And he's trying his hardest to keep up with Rolla. He's only 2 seconds back, as you said. And we've seen it so much in this series. You really can't count your chickens until they hatch. I think this one is still within Ove's grasp if he just sticks with it. Meanwhile, Lewis Emerton, even though he got himself up into 4th with the early troubles that some of the top runners had, well, Lepisto's recovered. He started in 4th, and he wants that back.
Of course he does, Joe. That's why he's here. Try and take that spot back. Again, like I said before, they really, really got to set this up. Calculate your move.
Speaking of chickens here, there's a Bill Zahn line that comes to mind now that Lepisto has caught him. Not going to do it for me, Sean?
Well, it's like milking a rooster.
Yeah, the hard part starts after you catch them. So, Ante Lepisto, as he rocks up to the back of Emerton, spends about a lap back there. Ooh, look at him close under braking into the final corner. Up and off the hill. Oh, but Emerton looks a lot stronger on the power and stretches away. Down into turn 1. Going to have a bit of traffic that could come into play. That's Tommy Alto. Going to catch him in a bad spot, too. This is one of the twistier parts of the circuit. Up ahead of them, Jamie Hall is a bit caught out himself behind Marco Kika. He finally gets by. But this has allowed Emerton to start to gain ground. Both of them get by Alto over the bridge.
And Olenek is going to be riding up on a battle here between Franco Scurti and Hideki Koivitso. These two have been fighting for several laps now.
Here we ride on board with Koivisto. Looking back, oh, a bit of a dive to the inside there from Scurry. Not a real move, more of just psychological, showing his nose. Here comes our leader. He's going to deny the apex to Scurry. And gets caught up between them, sandwiched just momentarily. Oh, beautiful job, just knowing how the Audi is going to place himself. Olenek dives to the inside on the exit. loses as little time as possible. That is great racecraft from that zigzag machine. Now, did something happen to McLeod?
Yeah. Clayton did have some trouble, Joe. He was top of the bridge and didn't get off the top of it real well. He seemed to rattle the curbs a couple of times, but
well, even before that, you're going to see here, before the bridge, had Jesper right behind him and just got on the power a little too eagerly. So that gives Jesper Derlicka 6th now. Up next for him is Lepisto, and Lepisto's still working on Emerton. Emerton doing a great job fending him off for now. These two still giving chase on Hall, who continues to work his way through almost the conveyor belt of Audis throughout this track at this point. Oof, right on board Lepisto. He's taken a lot of curbs, which I'm surprised. These Nissans are known for not liking curbs at most tracks.
Yeah, most tracks they don't. Generally, never a good idea to rattle those curbs real hard in Nissans, as it can generally cause under-tray damage or mess up that the arrow on those front little winglets there, and can certainly hurt the speed on the car. Doesn't look to be the case today.
Ooh, getting caught up here is Luis behind Hideki Koivisto. Hideki sees him, lets him through. Lepisto's going to follow. Oh, an incident behind them as Derlicka runs into Scurry down into turn 3. Jesper was hard on the move, knowing he was catching those two battling ahead of him, and just chopped Scurry off a little too soon.
Yeah, he just wasn't clear there yet. And poor Franco was doing the wise job to keep it tight on the inside. And just, well,
from that angle, it did look like he outbraked himself slightly.
It did, didn't it? Now I'm seeing it from that angle. It did look totally different. Looked like Scurry was getting a little bit hot and having trouble slowing it down there.
Every story always looks a little bit different from you see it from a different viewpoint. So I think more of a racing incident there, as each driver probably could have given a little bit more room as we watch this battle between Laughter and who is this he's fighting with? Thompson? Side by side through 4. Look at this. They are basically blocking the road for Luis Emerton. He does not want to see this ahead of him with the fin breathing down his neck. Now he finally gets an opening. He's going to get one, and he's going to sneak through the other just barely. Oof, great job by all heads to stay cool in that situation.
Yeah, Ben Laughter not only pulls off a pass of Riley Thompson there, he's also manages to avoid the contact all at the same time. Laughter gets himself up to 4th. Poor Riley. Boy, ever since Ove passed him, it just seems to seems to keep moving backwards.
Well, despite the naysayers, Sean, I see the only DNF is actually a DNS. Nicholas Mukonos, the only driver that's out of this race.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, the damage on Scurry's machine, not that bad. And Derlicka looks like it was really just damage to the side pod there. So both cars in decent shape, decent enough to try and finish this race anyway.
Yeah, a little bit bent up there. Ooh, actually, it's a nasty looking little bite out of the side of the car of that Grip TV machine. Well, since we're past halfway, let's give you a quick top 5 rundown of each of our classes, starting with the prototypes. Olenek has not been stretching away by a significant margin. It's only 3.8 seconds over Ardo Iamaki, who, and actually that's our leader. That's our GTO leader, Villi Rolla, having a big slide, catches it. He's still got the lead, but that's a chunk of time that's taken out of his top spot. Let's take a look at the replay, Sean.
Yeah, Joe. Villi just getting down
Cools
here.
off on the dirt, looks like.
Yeah, a little bit too much of that, and he puts on the drift through there.
And as that's happening, if we come back live, Derlicka's going to get the spot back from Clayton McLeod for a second time. Oh, now he gets into the side of, was that Laughter? And that turns Clayton around. Well, that was a mess. He had got the position. He wanted to try and hustle away, and you can see stuck his nose in. And Laughter was not expecting that, and that 9 just gets turned into McLeod.
Yeah, and that I'm not going to put that one there on Laughter at all. The car swung back to the right there, and boy, that really hurt McLeod. He can't steer the car.
Oh, could he be our first DNF of the day?
I think so, Joe. Car really hurt. You're going to see it here. When Ben hits him, it just screws up the front end on that car, and he was not able to steer it back to the pits. He had to take the tow.
Oh, and we finally had a pass between Emerton and Lepisto into turn 3. Got the replay here. This is a long time coming. Lepisto got himself a better drive right here. You can see the squirm from Emerton. Lepisto knew it, stuck it up the inside. A little argy-bargy. The number 13 had to try and counter steer to keep it on track, but Lepisto was through.
Joe, let me give you an update here in the Audi GTOs. Ove Trengrade has caught Villirola. He's right on his tail. He has just been steady here, worked his way up. Maybe use the traffic to his advantage a little bit, but we've got a race here in the Audis with 15 minutes to go. Oh, and Ove loses the grip.
And they're actually heading through turn 1 right now, or turn 2 right now, rather.
Oh, yep, I was on the...
Yep, on replay still. I know, it happens to me too. So, but regardless, twice now, we've seen mistakes from Villy in that Skoll machine, probably spitting in disgust now. And to make matters worse, they got Derlicka coming through. He's going to sneak through 1. Is he going to hold up the number 6, though? As they come up to turn 9. Waiting patiently. Oh, nice job by Jesper.
Well, I feel bad for Ove. He's got a lot of work to do now. 14 minutes. You know what? He got there once. He could do it again. 1.4 seconds, though. That little slip up there did definitely hurt him.
And that brings the gap down to 1.3. But we've seen Villy's had quite good pace today when he's out by himself, but it's hard to find any space of track without Nissans coming through. Just an update to Clayton McLeod did take it into the pits. Only 13 minutes left. I'm not sure that it's likely he'll be able to get it out to take the checkers. So pretty certain he will be our DNF, our first DNF for today.
Boy, they all must have been listening to the pre-race, Joe, and heard me throw down that over-under at 12, and they're like, yeah, we'll show him.
Well, this is a good surprise to have for sure, as we see John Keefe there going by Ben Laughter.
Yeah, boy, that was
continue.
That was awful close, wasn't it? Rattled Ben's cage there a little bit, I think.
Oh, Derlicka with an off.
Uh-oh.
Coming out of the final corner. I think Jesper's discovering what a lot of new drivers discover when they hop in this series, Sean, and that it is not easy to acclimate yourself.
Turbo lag?
I'd say a heavy dose of it.
Yeah, that if you don't drive these cars a bunch, it's something you definitely have to look out for. Now Derlicka is trying to get through Ove training grade here, and boy, don't mess up this battle, buddy, please.
And he's already been through it once. He did a good job the first time, so he knows how to get through, and I think it's going to be an exact repeat of what we saw before. Deja vu all over again. He's going to wait patiently, and does the script go? Oh, no, he's going to go a little early there. Diving it into 9. Maybe learned something from last time, figured out where he could save some time for himself. There's our second place driver, Iamaki. 6.2 seconds behind Olenek by now, but his teammate Hall has caught him back up to less than a second. So right on board with Jamie Hall. Remember, started 5th. I don't think the win is quite on the cards today unless we see something dramatic here in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, Olenek would have to have a major problem at this point, but I'll tell you what, Jamie looking pretty strong here to go after Arto.
Yeah, he's been hunting him for much of this race. They've got some traffic in the form of Koivisto, and Iamaki's going to send it inside, but there's not going to be any such luck for Jamie Hall, and he's going to have to wait patiently. Tries to get it off the corner. He's given the inside. Koivisto lets him through. So, things have been a little less chaotic than we expected, but it's not been without excitement, that's for sure. Drivers have been handling this tiny little track very well.
Maybe we did need 30 here today, Joe.
No. You know, I'm going to buck back on that one. I think 20 is plenty good for this track. This has been quite good out there, and drivers are a little spread out now, I will say. But we've seen traffic can bring drivers in, and not just that, but mistakes. You know, we haven't really talked, Sean, about just how tough this track is to drive by itself, and I feel like that's actually caused more issues out there than it has traffic.
Yeah, the track is, you know, we didn't talk much about the weather and how hot the track is. I'm surprised we've not seen more cars off the track because of the almost 110 degree temperature on track right now on a clear day. That's tricky at any track, but here at Oran Park, boy, again, just a testament to the field today and how well they've done out here.
Yeah, that Australian heat finding its way here to the extinct Oran Park. So we take a look at Reed Miller, who was in a battle with Marco Kika earlier, but he has since left him way behind and instead set his sights here on Franco Scurry. This is for 7th here in the GTO class.
Yeah, and Scurry just actually pulled that move off here a little while ago on Reed Miller. Reed Miller got it back, and now Scurry's back to 7th again.
So it's the reverse of what I was talking about. Scurry trying to run away, if anything, from Reed Miller. Scurry has had his own fair share of issues out there.
Yeah, well, we saw the contact between him and, what was that, Drelica earlier?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Up ahead of them, also a close battle going on between Laughter and Thompson. This is for a final podium spot out on track. They're going to be overtaken by Antti Lepisto. Lepisto splits them through the flip-flop. And then sneaks by Thompson, nicely timed.
Yeah. I think Emerton's coming up through now, too. It is Emerton back there. You know, Thompson had actually fallen behind Ben Laughter and was able to get it back, Joe. You know, again, he was racing up front there when this race started. Has fallen back, but he seems to have recovered late in this race. And it could just be a situation where Ben Laughter's maybe used up the car a little bit much at this point. Again, it's hot out here. Oh, and so much for that. He locks him up. Oh, they're up alongside each other.
Laughter going to try to stick his nose in down into 4. He's got the inside. Can he gun it off the corner? Yes, he can. A single mistake allows him through. And how about Emerton? He's got to be thanking his lucky stars because that was very close for Thompson to almost plow him off the road. Here we're going to see on board. Oof. Thompson probably clenching his teeth for a moment and a few other things.
Boy, what a great battle between these two today. they're not going to catch out at this point, but boy, they're sure going to have fun fighting it out to the finish here for fourth.
Certainly will. Oh, and the battle back between Miller and Scurry is on once again. Scurry made a mistake through 9. Miller looking and poking and prodding to try and find a way through. But up through the flip-flop, it is single file, and so he's going to have to sit and wait.
Scurry
got recovery from the Italian.
Yeah, he got a great run out of the turn, down the straightaway. Boy, he got off quick there.
And we missed it because DeLuca is now heading into the pits, but he had an off coming through turn 9. Let's see. We've got the replay, and this is the nail in the coffin for the Texas driver.
Yeah, and Joe, I'm going to say it, I'm afraid he might have gotten bit by the turbo lag again here.
Just looked like curb to me.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was a hard slam for that number 8 machine, who has now been our second retirement of the day. So 2 Nissans out, all the Audis still out on track, and 8 of the GTPs still running. Top of them is this guy, Rob Olenek. I'm sure he's grateful that we haven't really shown a whole lot of him today as he works his way around Tommy Alto. He's only got to survive for 5 more minutes, and he's going to take a win. Behind them, second place still up for grabs. Iamaki and Hall. As Hall goes by Alto himself. See from the paint scheme, Jamie Hall is the teammate of Olenek. They want to make this one a 1-2.
We don't have to get away from it, but Trade Grade just struggled with Lepisto getting by and loses a little bit more time there to Villarola.
And you can tell how these Nissans just have to tiptoe around this track. Even when they've got the line to themselves, it's got to just be nightmarish as soon as you come upon an Audi.
Yeah, they're never really at full song on this track.
And speaking of which, you know, we were talking to one of the drivers before the race about the gearing of the Audi itself and how that was a struggle that I wasn't aware of until just before the race.
Yeah, what was he said? It was really
gear,
long,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
A second gear just is really awkwardly timed. Speaking of awkward timing, Emerton has it between our battle for the lead and the GTOs. He's going to sandwich himself between them through 1 and 2. It was getting awful close there between Trangarade and Ruola. Oh, and Ruola's not going to have the racing line down into 3. He cuts it off as soon as he can. And that Robin's Egg blue car of Ove Trangarade just not going to have it. And it's do or die time, Sean.
It really is. I'm honestly tickled that he's here, though. That he's right up on him with 3.5 minutes left to go. As far back as Ove was at one point, I didn't think he had any chance of getting here, but the traffic's certainly been a factor. Ruola's not been perfect, and Ove's got a legitimate shot right here.
If he could just get a good run off the corner out of the final turn, it's not to be this time at least, as Ruola keeps himself safe. All this is happening. Let's stay on this, but at the same time that the battle for second is staying relatively close, Hall hounding Iamaki to try and get himself ahead of him. Oh, he is right on top of him now. And you know that Ove has not forgotten what happened earlier today at Brands Hatch with Mick Claridge. Right on board with Ruola, looking back at the Norwegian.
How big do you think that chip is on his shoulder right now?
Oh, and unfortunately, they're going to get separated.
Yep.
That's Clayton McLeod. He has to hold behind as Rolla holds his line. This has got to be frustrating for Clayton. Although he's just making up time. He did not DNF. Remember, he had that incident with Laughter. So he's come back out on track, now down to one car that will not see the checkered flag. Lets them be. And the battle continues with 1:33 left. 2 laps to go because Olenek is coming around the final corner right now. And actually, he's lost quite a bit of time. What was 6 seconds is now 1.5. I suspect maybe just managing the gap, though.
I would think so. Yeah, managing the gap. Playing it safe here to the end.
He's got to be careful now because if he makes an error, Iamaki's close enough that even just 2 seconds lost.
Yeah, he makes any kind of mistake, any kind of off or spin, and he's done. Iamaki is right there, but I think Olenek just playing it safer to the end.
There we see the fin of Iamaki. Olenek, the New England driver, has been leading the entire race. Hasn't looked like he is in any position to hand it over until now. He's got Riley Thompson up ahead of him, and now he's got traffic within his own class, which makes it even harder. That's John Keefe up ahead of him. Oh, and that loses him a whole lot of time here. Thankfully for him, Iamaki and Hall were caught up behind Thompson in the final corner. White flag is out. Final lap now. Olenek getting a little bit of a breather with the traffic helping him out. But now he's got Keefe ahead of him. Is Keefe aware of the situation? He's not pulling over anytime soon.
I'm keeping my eyes on Ruola and Trengrade.
Yeah, 3 seconds apart. That one has started to split up.
Ruola takes the white flag himself.
3 more corners to go for Rob Olenek. He's holding the gap at just about a second. Over the flip-flop. Through the final corner. If he can get the power down smoothly, the win is his. And Rob Olenek wins round 7 and the Kamel GT Series. Meanwhile, back in the Audis, it has gotten up to 3.5 seconds between Rolla and Trangarade. He's got traffic in the same class as well. That's Marco Kika just ahead of the Skull Bandit machine.
Well, the Bandit's been good today. Dare I say great. He has been a tough customer. Ove Trengrade, honestly, Joe, I think he just used it up. I just don't think there's anything left to charge with in that Audi. Try as he might, it's going to seem to fall a little bit short there. Drives it hard into the final turn, and that's it.
And the win is going to go to Willy Rolla here in round 7. Nicely driven, withstanding the pressure over Ove. But you have to say, you know, like you said, if he used up his stuff, at least he didn't sit back on it. You know that he was pushing hard for it, and that's all any driver can hope for. Now, we understand we had an incident with... we're not sure if we had an incident with Emerson, but I think he may have fallen down the order. No, he finished in 4th. So, anyways, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. But stick around because on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. welcome back to Oran Park. We just watched round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. Now, we had an interesting incident on the last lap. We were wondering about it before we went to break, and we did some research, figured it out. Well, Luis Emerton was going to get the spot back from Anti Lepisto. Lepisto was intentionally trying to give it back. As we pull up the replay here, happened in turn 9. Oh, looks like we're trying to pull it up. But while we look for that, just describe what happened. Lepisto slowed up. Emerton tried to get by him and goosed it a little too hard, ran into Lepisto. And Emerton did get the spot across the line. He did finish in 4th. Here it is right here. Bit embarrassing.
Yeah, there it is.
So what happened, and the reason that he was doing this, if you remember, is Emerton had that 4th place. Lepisto saw an opportunity in turn 3 about lap 24, and when he made the pass, he did get into the side of Emerton. So he wanted to fair play it, Sean, and he wanted to hand it back because he didn't feel right about taking it that way.
Yep, more good sportsmanship. We see it all the time here, and in the Kamel GT series. And Joe, like we were talking about there in the break, this surprisingly was a very entertaining race that saw little carnage. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I put the over-under there at 12. You all impressed and surprised me.
Well, and let's take a look at how the finishing order was, with Rob Olenek taking the win. Can't disregard that. It was a little close, but we think that was more just Rob managing the gap. We'll find out if we get to talk to him post-race. Ardo Yamaki takes 2nd, did a great job fending off Jamie Hall, who went from 5th to 3rd. Nice podium for Jamie. Luis Emerton gets that 4th back in the final lap over Anti Lepisto, who felt bad about the way that he overtook him earlier in the race. Lepisto finishes 5th. John Keefe is 6th spot, and then Michael Kopak, the last of the Nissans ahead of the Audis, finishing in 7th, 1 lap down.
All right, and the big winner in the Audi 90 Quattros is going to be Willy Rolla there in first. Ove Trengrade, that's his second place of the day. That's 2 in a row. And Ove, with a great run, just fell a little short there at the end. Michael Houghton, 3rd. Great run for the Texan. Riley Thompson will finish 4th. He did a good job of hanging on and falls just out of the podium there. 5th, going to go to Ben Laughter. Hideki Koivitso with a 6th place run. Franco Skirty, 7th. Reed Miller, 8th. Marco Kika, 9th. Tommy Ayalto will finish there in 10th. And then Jesper Drelika will finish 8th in class. And Clayton McLeod will finish 9th in class. And then, of course, Nicholas McConnell, we said, did not get to start the race. So there you go, Joe. That's all 20 of them.
And our winner is here to talk to us. Rob Olenek taking the win today. A little bit different from his teammate taking a few of them before. Rob, first question we have for you is, we noticed you had a handy gap for most of the race. You seemed to be unfazed, and then it really shrank at the end. Was that just you managing the gap?
I was trying to be careful. I wouldn't say that I was letting them get closer at all. Tires felt like they went off bad on me. And then, you know, it really depends on where you catch the Audis. I mean, you can lose 3 seconds if you're just patient through a little section. So I figured 5 or 6 seconds back for them, and they could catch me in a couple laps if I just hit traffic poorly.
Now, before the race, it was a lot of doom and gloom, not just from the drivers, but from us too. We expected the worst. And yet here on the broadcast race, there was 1 DNF and 1 DNS. What do you think made the difference that kept so many drivers in it?
I don't know. I agree. I thought it was going to be a tough race. I thought a lot of people, there'd be a lot of accidents. It looks like we have the best multi-class racing guys racing in Kamel, is what I say.
Not to toot your own horn there a little bit, but you've taken a win. You're looking very good in the championship this season. Are you thinking championship at all, or are you just keeping it out of your mind and running a race at a time?
I am at this point. I mean, for a little while, I was waiting for Keith to come back and start racing and figured he'd come back and take it, but it seems he's missed too many weeks now. So I'm going to try my best to just keep finishing the races. It seems if I can just be consistent, I might be able to pull it off.
All right. Well, best of luck to you. Congratulations on the win today, and thanks for giving us a good race.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Rob Olenek, winner in the prototype class. Up next, we have third place in the Audis, the GTO class. That's Michael Houghton, ready to talk to Sean.
Mike, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, I got you.
Congratulations, man. That was an awesome run today. The podium, I mean, you can't complain about that. How did you pull it off today? Tell us the secret to getting around to Oran Park for you.
Oh, man. Survival, basically. I thought it was going to be crazier than it was. I was surprised. It was kind of boring from my point of view. But yeah, I was just keep trying to pressure Riley into making a mistake. And I see a lot of people having problems going into one. They'd go in too hot and lose the rear end. So I was trying to capitalize on anybody doing that.
Yeah, you and Riley had a really, really good battle going there. Talk, though, about the battle with the Audis as they – the Nissans as they came through the field. That was quite challenging. Not a lot of room on this track.
I think the toughest part on this track for both classes is that turn 1-2 section where the Audi kind of tracks out, and the Nissan doesn't really have a choice of going left or right, because if he goes right, the Audi tracks out. He might get taken out. If he goes in, well, the Audi gets taken out. So it's kind of a roll of the dice, really.
I'll tell you what. We expected there would be less cars that finished this race today, and I'd say myself personally. I'm really surprised how well everybody held up here. Not a track that we run very often. You like seeing it on the schedule?
It didn't give me an amazing impression. It's a fine track, but for the Kamel GT series, I don't think it's the right kind of track, you know. When we were doing Canadian Motorsport Tire or Monza, man, you felt it. Here it's just, you know, oh God, please don't take me out into every single corner. Plus, it was cold. It was driving on ice, man. The tires were just gone.
Yeah, it was hot on track. It was over 110 degrees. And
yeah.
When did the tires feel like they really started to go away on you?
From the beginning.
Well, we like honesty, Joe. There you go. All right, Mike. Well, hey, listen, congratulations on finishing on the podium, and we will see you next week, my friend.
Thank you, sir, and a shout-out to Strung Out, all my followers. Thank you, guys. You're doing great. See you next week.
All right, and that was Michael Houghton. Great job by him there, Joe. And who are we going to go to next here?
We're going to go to Ben Laughter, who wound up 5th out there today. And, well, Ben, I know your team likes to put retro liveries on the car, but I feel like you maybe should have put Tilt on there instead of Blockbuster today, because you were a pinball.
Yeah, I got knocked around a bit by the Nissans today. I felt like I was running a good race, and I want to shout out real quickly to Riley for a hell of a race. Just the whole time, it was a blast, really good close quarters combat. But yeah, I found myself under a couple of front wings today.
And, you know, there was a lot of talk from the Audi drivers about the Nissans needing to be a little wary of turn 1 because you guys are so different into there. Did you have any moments in which you felt shoved off?
One or two, but I kind of saw it coming. The Nissans did a pretty good job of advertising early that they were going to dive in at that little kink, and that's okay. I can make room when I know that's going to happen. You can't when they dive out last second. So the Nissans did a really good job there today, and I didn't have any problems. And by the way, to Jamie, no hard feelings on the last lap. You owe me a beer, no big deal.
Well, glad to see you guys can work that out. Now, coming up next round, I'm sure you guys will be happy. It's a much more wide open track at Silverstone Historic. Do you think you can get back on the podium? Maybe even a win over in England?
Maybe. Yeah, sure. I'm not great at Silverstone. I'm better at this kind of track. I like tight, twisty. I mean, VIR, Nürburgring, I like this kind of stuff more than I do big, wide, boring F1 tracks.
Well, I don't blame you on that. I know I myself tend to be better on ones that tend to take a lot of other drivers out, just keep it steady and on track. And seemed to be one of the modes today that a lot of drivers were in. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
You know, thanks to Brett for, always tuning in and watching this. Thanks for Mike for practicing hard with me. And again, thanks to Riley. That race-long battle was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, at least you got a top 5 out there today. Hope to see you next week.
You bet, guys. See you later.
was Ben Laughter in the GTO class. I believe one last driver that we have, who we almost had an interview with, now Michael Kopak.
Hey, guys.
Mike, how you doing? Listen, great race out there today. It was very interesting for you. Talk about the trip around you had today.
Yeah, I mean, in practice, I kind of made up my mind, don't bother qualifying, just start in the back. I knew I didn't have quite the pace as everybody else, so I was just playing the survival game, and the green flag, waved and half the field didn't go, so all of a sudden I'm in fifth. I couldn't believe it. I knew it wouldn't last, but it was fun while it was there. Really, the only issues I really had was, staying consistent. Sometimes when I got stuck behind the Audis, particularly the two Blockbuster guys, you guys are so hard to pass. I lost like 6 seconds on one lap when I was ahead of John Keefe, and he just gobbled me up because of it. And then once he passed me, I got stuck behind some Audis again and lost a whole bunch of time. So try to be patient, try to give them a chance, and not run up the rear end too badly. But yeah, it was a little frustrating at times.
Now, we talked to some drivers before the race about how they were gearing the car. How tall did you have to go on that second gear?
I didn't really play with it too much. I just used rock. Those guys are much better at it than I am. I have no clue what I'm doing with setting cars up.
What about the tires? Was that a big issue for you? It was really hot on track today.
The first lap or two seemed awfully slippery until the tires warmed up. Then it seemed to be okay. About halfway through, I started noticing some fall off. But I mean, honestly, this track had such little grip to begin with. It was very marginal to tell the difference.
Well, all right. Well, listen, you know what? It was a little rough out there today, but you managed to come home in seventh, and there's always next week. So we'll look forward to seeing you then. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Everybody. I mean, you guys do a great job, and everybody in the group, we all enjoy racing together. You ruffle each other's feathers a little. So it's a fun series, and wish more people would come out and learn it for themselves.
All right. Well, listen, we thank you again, and we will see you next week here back in the Kamel GT series. That was Michael Kopak and Joe. A fun race today. Very entertaining.
Yeah, I always enjoy getting to see Oran Park. It's one of my favorites, to be honest. I wish it shows up on more schedules. Although I think they're right. Probably not suited to these powerful cars. Better with a little bit low-powered machinery. But we're going to close up today. Of course, a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for bringing GSRC back for yet another season. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. We're also on Instagram now at GSRC_Graham, and as well as those social media sites, don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page. We've got a big red button that says subscribe. Make sure and hit that so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, is going to be at Silverstone at the historic layout, so fewer chicanes, thankfully. That'll be Saturday, May 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.